I'm joined now by Nigel Farage, the UKIP leader, from his final rally of the campaign at Gateshead. Nigel Farage, your poster has been taken by many people as deeply offensive, upsetting, racist, anti-Muslim. Would you like to apologise to them tonight?
Well, you know, I issued a very similar poster to that 2 months before with very little debate. The problem with the poster wasn't the image. After all, it appeared on all of our front page newspapers, and the strapline, the EU has failed us all. You know, what I'm saying is that what Mrs. Merkel did last year has led to a huge crisis inside the European Union. Add that to the euro crisis, and what on earth are we doing there as members of this failing union?
OK, so no apology.
Was, of course.
Do you see...
Well, hang on.
Well, no, hang on.
No,
let me finish the point. Do you see that why people would regard this as xenophobic and racist? I mean, there you are, in front of a poster full of brown faces on the move, coming into Europe with a big banner headline saying breaking point. The only white face has been obscured by text. Many people took that as deeply offensive. And I ask you again, do you want to take this opportunity to say sorry?
Well, the Schengen zone is at breaking point, that's undeniable. The picture was true, it wasn't doctored, but what I apologise for is the timing. You know, some people have been given the impression that somehow we issued this poster after the appalling murder in the street that took place. We did not.
Nobody said that, and I don't want to bring the Joe Cox killing into this.
And that was really unfortunate, and after that, we withdrew it and we stopped campaigning. Now, we're issuing a whole series of posters. That was the first of 6. The second series were in the newspapers today. There'll be more tomorrow.
The trouble is, Mr. Farage, that, you know, let's keep the whole question of Joe Cox out of this particular discussion, because you know, nobody I'm aware of has accused you of getting of releasing it after what happened. You know, you have said a series of provocative things to do with foreigners. You've talked about, you know, you accuse Peter Mandelson of rubbing our noses in diversity. You've accused Baroness Varsi effectively of lying today, and it comes on the back of this poster that, again, I say it doesn't have any white faces. It was about Syrian refugees. It had nothing to do with European migration. They weren't Polish or anything like that.
But that is the crisis that has affected Europe over the course of the last 16 months.
Well, how did it affect Britain? How many of those people got to Britain?
Because you don't seem to understand, we are members of a political union. Despite the fact we're opted out, I'm pleased to say, of some bits of it, we're still a member of that union, and it's a union that's failing, and I don't want us to stay part of this failure.
Yeah, but how many of those people in the poster made it to Britain? None.
Well, that is not what the poster was about. As I say, the EU has failed us all.
You said breaking point.
Well, the Schengen zone, with barriers going up everywhere, is, I think,
we're not in Schengen,
at breaking point. Schengen is a big part of the European Union, as is the Eurozone, and one of the answers that the EU is trying to come up with is a common immigration policy. Now, once again, we'll be told by British politicians we'll opt out of it, but every time the EU broadens, deepens, moves ahead, we get dragged a little bit in its wake. The EU is a failure. It doesn't represent the modern 21st century. There are Eurosceptic movements growing up on the north, south, east and west of the European Union, and I very much hope that what we do on Thursday is to give hope to people who believe in democracy in the other countries too.
My point is that in accusing politicians like the Prime Minister and Baroness Varsi of lying, of running posters like this, of accusing the Labour Party of rubbing our noses in diversity, whatever that may mean, you are part of what has dragged British politics into the gutter.
Really? So this is the Prime Minister who put poster trucks round London two years ago saying, if you're an illegal immigrant, we're coming to get you.
He can account for what he does, and we will ask him when we get a chance. I'm asking you to account for what you've done. No, don't attack him. Account for what you've done.
I didn't mock up a poster truck. I put a factual photograph as one of a series of 6 posters in the last week of the campaign that reflected the truth.
When did you approve that image?
That poster ran on. Sorry?
When did you approve that image?
The week before.
Because
the week before, along with the other images that you'll see tomorrow and going on. Look, Nobody thinks that Mrs. Merkel got this right last year. I certainly don't. And I don't think a growing number of the electors inside the EU think so either.
Yeah, the point is none of those people are coming to Britain, Mr. Farage. That may well be a problem for Angela Merkel and Germany. It's not a problem for British voters this Thursday.
Well, it is, because we're part of a union that isn't working, is dysfunctional, is backward-looking, and is holding our country back. And there is a big debate about the 508 million people that have EU passports, and believe you me, the impacts of that on schools, on hospitals, on housing, on wages, these are the kind of things that voters in Newcastle are going to make their minds up on over the course of the next couple of days. And I would still say that this is the number one determinant in terms of how people will go out and vote on Thursday.
Your colleague Aaron Banks is polling on the impact of the killing of Joe Cox. Did you approve that as well, and what do you think of it?
He's not a colleague of mine, he works for a different organisation. And I would expect, actually I think YouGov have an opinion poll coming out in one of the main national newspapers tomorrow, where they will poll the effects of what's happened to British opinion post this awful tragedy.
Do you think it's tacky?
Ask YouGov whether they should close down. I've no idea. I think there'll be lots of people polling to see what the effect of this is. It may be deeply cynical, but I mean that's the way the polling industry works.
Just on immigration again, as you seem to think it is the big issue for Thursday. I mean,
I do.
Do you not see that all the experts, who I know you like to disparage, say that we need a much greater level of immigration than you're comfortable with to maintain Britain's growth in GDP?
Well, of course, Mr. Osborne and others will tell you mass immigration is good because it gives an increase in GDP. What it doesn't give is an increase in GDP per capita. And
which has also gone up.
Even if we looked at different surveys,
GDP per capita has gone up.
Surveys, and if we said, for those earning good money, yes, not for those earning average money. And that's the point. What we've had is
that's
a
not how it's worked out,
oversupply
Mr. Farage. I've got the numbers here.
Of unskilled and semi-skilled labour. And
GDP per capita has gone up for 6 years in a row.
There was a report out this morning.
You've got to get your facts right.
That the effects of net migration were negative on the British economy. Others say it's positive. I'll tell you what we'll do. I'll meet you in the middle. Let's say it's about even. But one thing for certain, there are other issues than money. It's called quality of life. And the quality of life for people on average incomes in this country is diminishing, with the population rising at 500,000 people a year. And we have a chance on Thursday to take back control of our borders so that a British Parliament and government can set the right levels.
Nigel Farage, thank you very much indeed.